Well, hello. The title for today's video is A Financial Reset is Inevitable, from a Saturday email. Quote, I do have a question. It seems certain we are going to see a global currency reset. Lindsey Williams says his cabal friend has explained that this will lead to a 30% reevaluation of the dollar, down 30%, and the dollar will then collapse in 2015. Ben Fulford, Sheldon Neidl, and Drake all believe the reset is going to replace the current world currencies with a new global currency that will bring us prosperity. What's your take? I replied, regardless of the form of financial reset that is inevitable, unless it is accompanied by a return of human rights supported by a system of law that upholds those rights, it will be meaningless. There was more to his email than what I quoted here. He actually thanked me for my dedication and my honesty in dealing with the situation, and then he posed the question. And the response that I gave is the total response that I gave. Yes, I do believe that the way the world economy has been operating is going to be reset. And I don't think it's going to happen in 2015. I think it's going to happen this year. And I wish I could give a time. To me, it should have happened a long time ago. It hasn't happened yet. And there are lots of things, I believe, going on behind the scenes at many levels and in many places in order to bring this reset. But the big reset, the most important reset, is not the changing of the way world finances are distributed and operate. It's really how the law operates and how human rights are treated. If the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the UN, in the UN Charter, if that were actually adopted, if the Bill of Rights for the United States was actually enforced worldwide, if the courts and the system would actually do what's right and operate under the rule of law that Karen Hudas often talks about, not maritime law or admiralty law or equity law, but common law. If all the rights of the people and the law of the land was actually enforced, it wouldn't matter what the financial system. We could have the same financial system we have now, but it would mean something other than what it does mean. It's the financial system, or I should say the legal system, the system of law that gives meaning to everything else in our culture. We're not going to be free until freedom is seen as a value, and every individual is seen as a sovereign deserving to define that freedom for his or herself. Nobody can impose freedom on anybody else. Freedom is a responsibility as well as an attitude. And the attitude has to be that, yes, I have a right to choose how to express my life in the form of who I love, how I love, what kind of work that I do or I don't do, and of me being able to make my decisions for myself as a mature human being. The problem is, of course, that many human beings, even if they're all up in years, aren't necessarily mature, because we've been taught not to take responsibility, to pass the responsibility for our lives onto the government, onto something else other than taking the responsibility for ourselves. And it's really hard to take full responsibility for ourselves because we've been so programmed and so trained to be dependent rather than interdependent and cooperative in our culture. We're competitive. Our attitudes have been formulated so that we have lack consciousness driving the engine, that there's not enough to go around, and we've got to get whatever we can, and we've got to be careful that nobody takes it away from us. And I mean, it's a dog eat dog world, and this is the world we've lived in, and that's the issue. It's not, is there money or is there not going to be money? What is the money going to be backed by gold, or is it going to be another fiat currency? Is the money going to be a basket of currencies or one single currency, or what's it going to look like? It doesn't matter if we don't have human rights. And the Agenda 21 of the United Nations, and what the bilateral, or yeah, not the bilateral, the Bilderberg people and the people that meet and try to control the world and have been doing this for a very long time, what they want is total control, a government of total corporatocracy, a government that controls every nuance of every individual, that spies on every individual with impunity and knows what everybody's doing at all times to keep them in line and make sure that they do what they're told and that they obey and that they don't exercise any notion of rights or even a crazy thing. What rights? You have whatever privileges we give you. You don't have any rights. Well, that kind of system, if that's the system that continues, the earth will be destroyed, and I don't believe even the elite will actually survive. The so-called elite. That's my take on it. We've got a chance right now to create something new. How we're going to do that without help from a power greater than ourselves, I don't know, because we all know that the establishment is able to exercise at least enough power to convince most people that they're powerful. I don't believe they're as powerful as they try to convince us they are, but it's a pretty convincing act. Just like the ego is often a pretty convincing act, that we can handle everything ourselves, and we're so afraid to tell the truth, that we're uncertain, that we feel like we're not enough, that we feel afraid, that we feel whatever negative feeling is coming up for us, we don't want to admit it, and we're trained in not telling the truth. We're trained in putting on masks. We're trained in wearing a shield and putting armor on to protect ourselves. We're trained to think that we've got to keep certain things to ourselves, that we can't be open and honest. We can't let ourselves become vulnerable because someone's going to take advantage of us. And this is the kind of world that we've been programmed into. It's the matrix, folks. And it's a matrix of control. And it's a matrix of no freedom and no rights. It's a matrix of lack. It's a matrix of separation, and every man and woman for him or herself. Nobody trusts anybody in the matrix. And this has to be fundamentally changed, or no matter what we do in a system is not going to matter. It's not going to mean a hill of beans. We have to wake up as a collective, as a human family, and this is happening all over the globe. Still, however, the people that have controlled the currencies, controlled the finances of the world, still seem to be in control, no matter how many people with good hearts want to have a system that's a better system, a more fair system, a system where people are honored and respected, and where each one's sovereignty is allowed to be and allowed to manifest, allowed to not be contested. But it's contested. But our sovereignty is being contested everywhere by those that want to be in control. And this is the reality of the world that we live in. It's not a reality that I'd like, but not liking it's not going to make it go away. Denying it or turning my head is not going to make it go away. Just as not listening to what people are doing in certain circles isn't going to isn't going to make it go away, except that I don't have to get involved in the drama of the whole thing. And sometimes that to me seems like a wise choice. And it's all about wisdom. It's all about integrity, as I said in my previous video. If you don't have leaders that have integrity and are able to act with wisdom, we don't have anything. And quite honestly, the leaders that we have not only don't have integrity and don't have wisdom, they're the opposite. I mean, they're insane. It's not that they're not smart. They're smart, but they're not wise. They don't. Their system that they propose of control is unsustainable ultimately, because people will rebel any way that they can rebel. It's natural. There's a flame of freedom that burns in the human soul, and that cannot be extinguished because it's part of our DNA. And I believe sincerely that our DNA is being activated. I believe that we are waking up. We're in a process. I don't know how long that process is going to take. I don't know what form it's going to take. I don't know what form the help is going to come in. But there has to be some help, be it from God, angels, or human beings that are more fully activated than the rest of us. But something has to give, because the system that we have cannot be sustained, which is why I say a reset is inevitable. We are in a different era, a different time, a different what's the word that I'm looking for? A different paradigm. We're on the cusp between the old and the new, but we're in the new paradigm. It's not fully manifested yet, but it's here. The energy of that paradigm are here, present with us right now. And it's happening, and nobody's going to stop it from happening, I believe, ultimately. But exactly how that is going to come about, I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I do know that there are a lot of people on this planet that have tremendous hearts and tremendous vision and tremendous love for humanity and tremendous love for the earth and tremendous love for all the creatures on the earth. There are people that are so amazing, and yet there are other people that are just as amazingly incompetent and amazingly stubborn and unwilling to even open their eyes and open their ears, and most importantly, open their minds and their hearts to be able to see the role that they're playing, that it's not a role that's helpful for anyone ultimately, not even for the people that are playing the role. It's going to fail. It's going to fail. It has to fail, or destruction is the only alternative. Destruction and starting over again. And that's really that's timeline one. That's what the elite wants. They want to set this back into another start over, like we had after Atlantis, like we perhaps had after Lemuria, and any previous of the previous so-called worlds that we lived in. They would like to start over again from scratch and rebuild everything all over again, because that defeats the ultimate purpose of the prime source or prime creator. It defeats the purpose of letting love be the dominant force on the planet and letting people live with compassion and cooperation rather than competition and constant lack consciousness and constant fear and constant looking over our shoulder to see who's coming after us to try to take whatever little we have from us. All this is the world that we've been in. This is the matrix. And many of us have taken the pill that allows us to awaken and go farther and farther down the rabbit hole and just see all these things. It's not that Lindsey Williams is telling us lies, but look where he says he's getting his information from. As far as Ben Fulford, Sheldon Neidl, and Drake, and many others that see a better system coming and see prosperity for all, that's the same thing that I've seen many times, and yet, quite honestly, I get discouraged that it hasn't happened yet. And there's nothing I can do to make it happen except continue to send out my intention to have a world that works for everybody, my intention to do whatever I can to tell the truth and to be in integrity myself for me, my intention of being willing to receive help that's given from whatever source the universe provides for that help to come, and to be open to listen, to be willing to change my mind, to be willing to look at something from a different perspective. But I'm not going to sacrifice my natural rights. I'm not going to sacrifice my right to speak my heart and to speak my mind. I'm not going to sacrifice my right to propagate the ideas that come forth from me and to me. I'm not going to sacrifice my right to assemble and to befriend whoever I choose to befriend. And I can't be everybody's friend, and not everybody is on the same wavelength to be my friend. And that's just the reality of it. There are some people that I have feel a resonance with. There are others that I feel a dissonance with. And whatever that is, it's what it is. And all I can do is recognize it and go with the flow of what I feel to be true. And to allow myself to be led by a path that I don't know, to be guided along an unfamiliar pathway that I've never walked before. And I believe we're all walking a pathway that none of us have ever walked before. And we're creating a new world, and it's being created in and through us. And yes, there's going to be lots of resets. There needs to be lots of resets if we're going to escape this matrix and have a matrix that is better suited for where we are in our evolutionary and spiritual development. I'm going to leave you with these thoughts, and I thank you once again for listening, and may you each be blessed in your own way and follow the path that seems the best for you at this time in your life, because each one of us has a slightly different path and a slightly different mode of processing the information that is being downloaded to us all the time. Namaste.